Well, welcome everyone to our second event of Student Volunteering Week 2022 at the University of South Wales. I'm Hugh, one of the Civic Engagement Officers, along with my colleague Glesney, and we run the Civic Engagement Scheme, which connects students with volunteering opportunities and local organisations in the South Wales area, particularly in the southeast. And this second event is a panel event where we're bringing together three of these organisations. So just like to quickly mention, we've got Jason here from Neath Talbot Council for Voluntary Service, and we've also got Claire from the Gwent Association of Volunteering Organisations, and finally we've got Frankie from Skills Volunteering Cymru, and I think I got all of those right. And they'll be speaking today in that order, introducing their organisations and also some of the opportunities that they have running at the moment, and maybe a few more insights as well. And at the end, we will have a short sort of question and answer session where you can use put your hands up, or then you can just use the chat. So I will stop waffling and hand over to Jason. Thank you.
Good afternoon, my name is Jason. I work for Neath Talbot Council for Voluntary Service. We're one of 19 regional voluntary councils within Wales. We act as support for the third sector, the voluntary sector, providing training and support to organisations and linking volunteers with opportunities within the sector. There's a quick explanation on the screen there. Sometimes people will get slightly confused with the difference between work experience and volunteering and placements, but broadly speaking, voluntary work is something you take unpaid for the benefit of others. And I have a quick video here which will talk about some of the points, perhaps more eloquently than I can.
Have you ever thought about volunteering but don't quite know where to begin? Maybe you're concerned it would take up too much of your time, or perhaps you've got some queries and don't know where to get the answers. Here are some helpful tips on volunteering and advice on how to get started. From helping out at a food bank or befriending someone by telephone to conserving nature at your local woodlands, volunteering comes in many different forms. What they all have in common is that they are activities which are carried out freely and by choice, which benefit the public or your community and which do not reward you financially. So far, this sounds a bit one-sided, but this is far from the case. Volunteering has heaps of benefits to offer the volunteer too. Volunteering looks great on your CV and helps you stand out from the crowd when applying for a job. It can help you gain experience and develop new skills. You may be provided with training opportunities and offered a reference too. Perhaps you're thinking of a career change, or you're not sure if a job will be right for you. Why not try it out by volunteering first to make sure it's the right fit? It's also a great way of making new friends and finding people with similar interests. Did you know that volunteering can improve your well-being? Helping others can be really rewarding and give you a sense of purpose. What about if you lack confidence and don't feel like you have much to offer? Volunteering helps to gently build your confidence in a supportive environment, and simply giving your time can make a real difference to your community. Everyone has something to offer. Most importantly, volunteering is about doing something you enjoy, and there are ways for everyone to get involved, even if you don't have much time to spare. From volunteering in sport, hospitals, prisons, youth projects, cafes, community groups, and many more, there's a role for you. Thinking about what you'd like to get out of volunteering is a good place to start. Consider what motivates you to volunteer. Is it to meet new people, give you a sense of purpose, or gain new skills? The answer to this can help point you in the right direction. What skills and experience can you offer? Do you have any interests or hobbies? Doing something you enjoy is really important to make sure your volunteer experience is a positive one. It is also important to make sure that your values and beliefs align with the organisation. What cause or issue are you passionate about? Is it supporting the environment, tackling food poverty, supporting younger people? Follow your passion to find a fulfilling volunteer role. Consider whether you like being part of a team or providing one-to-one support. Are you happy at home, or do you prefer being hands-on and more active? Thinking about the practical considerations can make sure that the role fits in with your lifestyle. Consider when you are available and how often, whether you would like to volunteer at or close to home, or somewhere with good transport links. With these things in mind, you are now ready to look for a role, and getting involved couldn't be easier. You may already have a good idea of where you'd like to volunteer, such as for your local health board, local council, or a community group or charity. You can find details on their website or social media pages on how to get involved. Your local volunteer centre can provide you with information about volunteering and help signpost you to volunteer opportunities in your area. You can also search online. The Volunteering Wales website contains hundreds of volunteer opportunities all across Wales, which you can search to find the right opportunity for you. What are you waiting for? Start your search today.
Now, as we heard in the film, the benefits to the volunteer are many. Perhaps most relevant to yourselves will be references for applications for future jobs. This is particularly useful if you don't have an employment history or you're returning to work from a long period away. But you can develop skills, practical skills, people skills. You can, of course, make friends, improve your well-being and confidence, and have fun. And something I think not mentioned here, it's a good way to try careers. So if you're thinking of going into an area of work, potentially you could volunteer in something similar and see if it is for you before you commit a longer term. Now, the benefits to the community are vast. Without volunteers, we wouldn't really have any grassroots sport. Criminal justice system would essentially collapse. And during COVID, so much work was undertaken by the voluntary service, delivering food and medicines to people, checking that the neighbours are okay, and it would have the situation been far worse without volunteers. In the film, we heard about the Volunteering Wales. It's a website set up by Welsh Government for volunteers to find voluntary roles. Organisations will put roles on the website, and then you can go along to this website and do searches and find something suitable. Though I would stress, if you are looking for volunteer roles, I would recommend talking to your local volunteer centre, because they will know of many roles that aren't on Volunteering Wales or haven't been put on yet, and they will try to find bespoke volunteering solutions that will best suit your needs as a volunteer. My colleague Claire runs this very similar youth fund in Newport, so she will talk about this in far greater detail. But there is youth funds where young people can decide on where funding goes. They can vote on grant applications to decide on funding and things that will benefit their community. And I think every county in Wales will have something similar to this. And if you were in Neath Talbot county, you can contact us at CVS, and we will link you with roles that will best suit you, whether it's you're looking for job experience, whether you're just looking to do something in your spare time or get something back to your community. We have a huge variety of roles, both one-off events, long-term, just a couple of hours a week or a month or more. My colleague in the Rhondda Cynon Taf couldn't make it to this meeting, but we have contact details if you happen to be in that county and would like to volunteer there. Interlink is the organisation that takes care of things in Rhondda Cynon Taf. That is stop sharing my screen.
That's great. Thank you very much, Jason, and great to see that really informative and well-made animation as well. We'll have to share some of those links and the contact details as well to Interlink, and especially going through all those benefits. I occasionally volunteer myself, and I find a lot of those beneficial to me too. And Claire, when you're ready, I'll let you continue.
Great, thanks. Can you see that first slide okay?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so thanks to Jason, and just to introduce myself, my name's Claire Turner and I'm the Youth Volunteering Officer for Newport. So that just means that my focus is working with 14 to 25-year-olds. And I work for GAVO, which, as Hugh said, is the Gwent Association of Voluntary Organisations. So we support organisations and individuals within our communities across the Gwent footprint. And I've just put our vision at the bottom there. The breadth of what GAVO does is very, very wide. So I just see a little bit of that and I'm involved in the volunteering element of that. But on our website, you'll see the breadth of work that we do at GAVO. So in terms of volunteering, we provide support, advice, guidance and recognition, as I say, across those 4 areas that they're split into. So if you're an individual and you're looking to volunteer or already volunteering, you may come across us. We can support you to find the right role for you. We can formalise your volunteering arrangement, so we can take a record of what hours you're spending volunteering, and you can be part of our recognition scheme. We think it's really important to show our gratitude to volunteers. As Jason said, they're really important in our communities, never more so than now. And sometimes just kind of formalising and recognising things that happen informally, just in a kind of a helping out sort of scenario, is really important for the sector and for us to celebrate what volunteers do. Quite often organisations, community groups come to us and they want to involve and support volunteers. So we just make sure that they've got everything in place to make sure that it's a really meaningful experience for our volunteers, that they're well looked after, that all the policies and governance is in place to make sure that their safety and their well-being is taken care of. A project or an agency and a lot of businesses at the moment come to us in terms of fulfilling their corporate responsibility. So sometimes that's looking for volunteering placements for big organisations, big businesses within Newport who want to give back and give some paid time to their employees to give back something back in volunteering. And that really shows the status of volunteering and what it can offer to a community, but also what it can offer to individuals. And that's something that a lot of businesses are really investing in at the moment, which is great to see. So Jason has talked a little bit about why volunteer. And I always like to use the starfish story, which hopefully is one that you know, of a small child on the beach returning starfish to the sea and is challenged by a grown-up who says, why on earth are you spending your time doing this? There's hundreds and thousands of starfish. You're never going to get them all back into the sea. To which the small child replies, well, I've helped that one, so that's enough for me. And I think that really demonstrates that making a difference, that it doesn't have to be something huge. Any sort of volunteering, any sort of time that you offer can have an impact. So never underestimate the impact that it can have on a community, on an organisation, but also on the individuals that you come across. Making a difference has been really important, and feeling that purpose and empowerment, particularly for people in the pandemic. A lot of people talked about how they felt helpless. And that's a very concerning, very worrying place to be mentally. But to feel that you could do something and step up and get involved and help your neighbours, deliver prescriptions, make scrubs, uniforms for the health service became very important, and a very connecting opportunity for our communities, and making them really cohesive and working well together. So that's been really exciting to see that, and that's something we really want to harness as we come out of the pandemic, what exactly happened there and what worked well. As Jason said, it's about meeting others who share your values. And that's been really challenging, I'm aware, for students kind of setting off to university in the last couple of years. It's by joining some of those groups and activities that you meet people who are of the same mind of you and care about the same things as you. So volunteering is another good way to do that. Say, this is important to me. I want to spend time with other people that find this important. It's about discovering new skills, and Jason touched on this and said about getting that kind of work experience and getting some experience in the workplace that you can put on your CV. And for me, it's sometimes about those skills that you just didn't know you had. It's about, you can strike up a conversation with a generation that, you don't normally come across in your day-to-day life. It might be that you suddenly have some good skills for planning and setting a timeline of activity and things like that. So it's not just about bringing the skills that you have, it's about discovering those skills within that context. So I would say challenge yourself. Don't necessarily go for the easy option. And there's an evidence base that it improves our health and well-being. And as I said, in the pandemic, it became very important to people that they become part of their communities. A lot of people have made the decision as a result of working from home in the pandemic to spend more time and invest more time in their communities, and carving out that little bit of time to feel that you're doing something, contributing something and connecting with people in different ways is really beneficial. And again, sometimes those can be formal things, and sometimes they're informal things. And a lot of young people that we speak to, when we ask them if they've ever done any volunteering or thought about volunteering, sometimes they'll say no, but then go on to tell us that, they help in their community church, or they help visit a neighbour or collect shopping for. Well, all of those things are volunteering, and we really want to recognise those within the work that we do. So as Jason mentioned, a good way to search for opportunities and find an opportunity is registering on the Volunteering Wales website. I'd add to what Jason said to keep returning to that. It's a huge site and opportunities are being added all of the time. So if you don't find what you're looking for when you search your interests and your location within that website, keep coming back to it, because there are opportunities that are being added each day. Organisations are reopening, shifting the way that they're delivering and providing those opportunities. And that's where we as voluntary councils, we come in and make sure that those opportunities are fit for purpose, that there's a good description of them, that they are covered by policies and governance and safeguarding that will make sure that both the volunteer and the organisation can have a good experience. So check it out, but don't expect to necessarily find the right role for you immediately. And that's where we can come in and support and chat to you and do a little bit more of a nuanced kind of search. And this is just an example of what an opportunity might look like. And this also demonstrates that there's been a real increase in digital opportunities and remote opportunities. A number of organisations in the area that I cover are run by older people. So they were very vulnerable in the pandemic, and it meant that their organisation had to basically shut down. And they realised that actually they would have really benefited from maintaining a presence through social media, maintaining connections that way. So they're looking for people who can come and provide a social media presence, who can capture pieces of video or pictures as evaluation evidence, and really help them to connect within their communities when they can't physically be in the same room. So there's a lot of those kind of opportunities, and they are superbly flexible. So they can be worked around, your timetabling, your lectures, and they're also accessible. So it doesn't have to be on your doorstep. It's great if it's an organisation that you can connect with physically, go in and see them, find out what they're all about, get a sense of their vibe so that you can reflect that. But it's also a volunteering position that you can do remotely. You'll see in the bottom right hand corner, it says follow this category or follow this organisation, and that's a really good way of, if you find something and it's not in your area or it's not open, it's not accepting volunteers, you can click on it and then it will kind of log that, so that then when a new opportunity is listed along those lines, you'll get some kind of notification. The same with the organisations. If you find an organisation that you think they really resonate with me, I really like what they're doing, I really want to get involved with them as an organisation and the values that they hold, follow the organisation, and then you'll get those notifications as to what they're up to. But that's just one way of getting involved and finding a volunteering opportunity that is going to suit you. The second way is about contacting your local CVC. So I've placed the Newport information there, so that's my information, and I support 14 to 25-year-olds, and Medjabeen, my colleague, who supports 25 plus. But generally, we kind of cross over. We're all about volunteering. We won't turn you away if you're not in our age group. And we have a good handle on what is happening locally. And as Jason has said, every area will have officers and support like this. So track them down, find out who they are, drop them an email, tell them what your interests are, what you think you're looking for, and there's a conversation to be had there. You can also make connections and find out through social media. So a lot of organisations put their call outs there and say, we're looking for people who can turn up on Saturday and litter pick. We're looking for people who can help with in our food redistribution, that sort of thing. So it's just as viable for you to follow those call outs, connect with those organisations. What I would say is just to make sure that they are official channels. And as I say, that's the job that we do as CVCs. We make sure that volunteer A is going to turn up to that organisation and they're going to be safe. They're going to have a good, meaningful volunteering opportunity that is going to be tracked, and that we can say, yes, they've done this many hours with this organisation. So by running a little check, you can kind of find out if they're registered with us on Volunteering Wales, or again, have a chat to us at the CVC, ask what do you know? What do you know about this organisation? What can you tell me? And then the other way that I wanted to talk about is about creating your own projects and opportunities. So it's not always about fitting into the mould of a position that exists. You may not find something which is exactly right for you in any of those settings that we've talked about. And that's where youth-led grants and youth action volunteering comes to the fore. And that's about joining with a group of young people and thinking, we feel really strongly about this and we think we can make a difference. And then creating a project and creating your own volunteering opportunities. And we run something called in the Gwent area, it's called Cash for You. But it is a national project. So within each area in Wales, there will be a pot of money which is about young people creating projects that they believe in and creating volunteering opportunities. This is just a little bit of information about how it works in Gwent, but it is always for that 14 to 25-year-olds. And you get to apply. It's an annual grant. You get to make an application, tell us what it is you want to do, and then those are assessed and money is distributed. I wanted to give you some examples of those projects and how they're being used. And please do connect to these if you find them, if you can find them on social media, because they're live projects at the moment. They'll be looking for volunteers and people to get involved in them. So this is about a group called Solidarity Stories. They existed as a very small group of young women, who really wanted to break down barriers and talk about positive stories of refugees. Newport is currently looking at becoming a city of sanctuary. So that means that there's a collective of people who are working to really make sure that we have an effective, warm and meaningful welcome to refugees, and that we are ready to signpost the places where they can get help and support and connect with other people. So this is a group of young people who really want to shout about those good and positive stories. They've created a project where they're going to take lots of stories, use young people to create an e-magazine, an e-zine, that they will circulate, that will be sharing some of the stories of refugees that have come to Newport specifically. And they also want to create a physical mural in the centre of Newport, where they design an artwork which represents how young people feel about refugees, and the welcome that refugees can expect in the city of Newport. So it's a really exciting project. We've connected them with a great organisation, The Gap, that's based in Newport, who can really make sure that they can be as successful as they can possibly be. But the ideas are young people. The volunteers that will be working on the project are young people. And I will be using my youth panel that I have created to make the decisions around these grants, to monitor and evaluate these projects as well. So it's entirely youth-led, which is really exciting. A second example of those projects, and this is the slide that I was going to finish on, is with Mind, which is obviously a national charity and well known, and you'll know what their day-to-day business is. They have a group of wellbeing ambassadors based in Newport. Again, young people who use their own experiences, and they've created training programs. And so they take their training programs out to businesses and various different settings, community settings, and talk about young people and young people's mental health and how they would like to be treated in those settings. What they wanted to do with their project, which was successful this year, is they wanted to create a podcast, because what they found in lockdown was they weren't able to take their workshops, which are kind of hands-on workshops, they weren't able to take them out and about. And they were very aware that young people might be accessing those workshops through channels like schools, youth clubs, community groups, sports groups, and all of a sudden all of those things were shut down. So they want to provide some support and a resource that is going to be there. So they've applied for money to help them with some training so that they understand how to create podcasts, and to help them with all the technical aspects of it, and they'll be using their own experiences. So again, it's created by young people. It will benefit young people in Newport, but also beyond Newport because of the nature of the podcast as the outcome. And again, it will be that panel of young people that will come on and help me monitor and evaluate exactly what's happened in that project, and what can we learn from that, and how can we replicate that in other meaningful volunteering activities. So what I would say is be persistent, work out what it is you want. Keep looking, and if you can't find exactly the role for you, then talk to someone and create it and find a way to do it. And there are people there to support as you do that. And enjoy, and best of luck with your volunteering.
Thank you very much, Claire, for sharing those inspiring and really sort of exciting examples. I hadn't heard of the starfish story, so I'm going to keep that one up here to use for sure, and also for sharing your advice as well about being persistent and checking through opportunities as well. Thank you very much. Now on to Frankie.
Lovely. Can you see that?
Yes.
Yep. Perfect. Okay. So my name's Frankie. I am a project coordinator at Skills and Volunteering Cymru, which is also known as SVC. So we're a local charity who were established over 50 years ago by student volunteers whose aim it was to provide help to disadvantaged groups. SVC still today remains to be a volunteer-led charity, and we currently deliver an array of over 30 volunteering projects to help various groups within the community, and we support beneficiaries from age 5 to 80. To name a few, our projects support environmental initiatives, people experiencing homelessness, isolated older people, and children and adults with disabilities. And in the last academic year, our 410 dedicated volunteers committed over 10,000 hours of volunteering and supported over 6,000 beneficiaries, which was really incredible. As an organisation, our mission is to enhance the lives of disadvantaged and vulnerable members of the local community through volunteering. We want volunteering to be a part of everyday life in Cardiff and surrounding areas, where all members of the community have the opportunity to give a little and gain a lot. So these are some of the partners that we currently work with. So the first one is the NHS. And then we also work with Innovate Trust, who are our sister charity organisation. So we do a lot of work with them. We also work with Cardiff City FC, Cardiff Dogs Home, Down to Earth, EYST, Children in Need, and then also the South Wales Police. So I'll come across some of these projects that we have currently recruiting at the moment with them in a second. So the first project that we're currently recruiting for, I only have 5 today, but if you want to see any more, there are plenty on the SVC website if you wanted to check it out, and I'll show you how to do that later. But the first one is Digital Mentors. So Digital Mentors is a new project that's delivered in partnership with Innovate Trust and Cardiff and Vale of Glamorgan councils. So the aim of the project is to provide digital support for adults with learning disabilities who are currently living independently within the community. Volunteers will be supporting beneficiaries through a befriending role, and you'll also support beneficiaries with basic digital skills to help build their digital confidence. So we're really looking for volunteers on this project who are digitally confident, but you don't actually have to be a tech whiz, so don't worry about that. And you also should have the ability to share your knowledge with others. So this project, while the project's being delivered, volunteers will be expected to spend 1 hour a week or 2 hours fortnightly working with their beneficiaries. And we're also looking to recruit volunteers who would be able to commit to this project for a minimum of 3 months. This project will initially be delivered in person, COVID circumstances permitting, with the aim of eventually being able to support beneficiaries digitally as well. Lovely, I'll pop on to the next one. So the next project going back, if you wanted to get any more information about that, Grace's contact details are at the bottom, and she's a project coordinator for this project. So the next project that we have is called the Health Meadow Project, which is a new sustainable development project where volunteers will be developing an outdoor healthcare and rehabilitation centre, which is designed to benefit the well-being of hospital staff, patients, and then also the local community. So volunteers will be working in 7 acres of woodland in all weathers, and you'll be working as part of a group who aim to do good things together. So you will be working with adults with disabilities, and together you'll help to clear woodland, build fences, and also learn new conservation skills. So this is taking place at University Hospital Landock. The timings are quite specific, so it is weekly every Monday from 10:15 till 2:15 p.m. And there is a preferred 6-week commitment from the end of Feb to the beginning of April. Dav, our project coordinator, is the coordinator for this project, so if you had any questions, feel free to email Dav directly. We also have plenty of other environmental opportunities you could get involved in, so we've got a lot of one-off outdoor activities going on. And if anyone is watching this before Thursday, then we do have a litter pick on Thursday, and if you wanted to get involved, please drop me an email. And then we also have opportunities for volunteers to join the committees such as the SVC Environmental Committee. And then this is just a poster that we use for this project. So again, I have said everything on there, but if anyone wanted to have another look at that, feel free to screenshot that. So the next project is ward volunteering. So this is in partnership with the NHS. So this is a new project where volunteers are currently in the training stages. and they haven't yet been placed onto the wards. So if you joined now, likewise with the digital befriending, digital mentoring, and the Health Meadow project, these are all really new. So if you joined, you could literally be right at the start of the project. So the purpose of this ward volunteering is for volunteers to act as a befriender to patients on the wards. So you would interact with patients who may feel lonely, isolated, or bored, and you could spend time with them in the day room or engaging in conversations or activities with them. You'd also be on hand to help with virtual visiting using the UHB devices, so supporting staff using it and also supporting the patients to get in contact with their relatives. So the NHS do ask for a 2-hour minimum of volunteering per week, and we do have set time slots for SVC volunteers, but if you prefer to volunteer at alternative times, we also have quite a lot of flexibility to do so, which is great. And then these opportunities across various wards at Landock Hospital, the Heath Hospital, or St David's Hospital, so all across the Cardiff area, which is brilliant. And then, yeah, I am the project coordinator for that one, so just email me if you wanted more information. And then the next project is Act Now for Equality. So we have started this project, but again, we are in the early stages and would love any more volunteers to join as and when. So what was it trying to do is build awareness, education and understanding of equality, diversity and inclusion, which is also known as EDI, and also the 9 protected characteristics under the Equality Act. So volunteers have been working alongside adults with learning disabilities to discuss and learn about EDI. We're hoping that once we've done some more discussion sessions, the volunteers will co-produce and deliver 6 accessible training sessions, aiming to make EDI relatable and also trying to understand all the different components like unconscious bias and also the importance of inclusion. And then we are hoping to end the project by producing an EDI film that we made by volunteers. This will then, sorry, I don't know if you heard the siren going off in the background, but anyway, we're hoping to create an EDI film by the end of the project, and we'll hopefully distribute this within other organisations within the third sector or other organisations within the community, just to, again, help build awareness. So we are looking for volunteers who have a keen interest in learning or educating others about EDI, and also those who are interested in the filming side. We usually meet on a Tuesday at 5 p.m. Or a Wednesday at 2 or 3 p.m, but we've actually been meeting twice a week now as well, but you're free to come and go whenever you please. At the moment, we've only been meeting digitally, but the aim is to hopefully introduce some more in-person sessions as well soon, and hopefully get some one-off events going, because again, it's just really nice to meet in person now. Oh, and also, if you have a look at the logo at the top, that's an example of something we've been working on. So you can see in the screenshots here and in the one on the right, we worked as a group to create a logo that we found represented what equality meant to us. And then we had like a vote on which one was our favourite, and then we came up with the logo just to make the project really part of our own. So they're the kind of things that we get done in those sessions. And then the final project that I wanted to talk to you today about was the police volunteering project. So this scheme was set up to help South Wales Police carry out various crime prevention campaigns and high visibility patrols. So it's a really unique opportunity to gain insight into what it's like to be part of South Wales Police. So in Cardiff, volunteers could get involved in things like helping on the safety bus, which you can see in the 2 pictures at the top. So the safety bus, so volunteers basically assist the police to support individuals who appear vulnerable to crime, and they ensure that they're taken home safely, or they provide them with advice on how to avoid crime. Volunteers could get involved in walkabouts and the street scheme as well, where they patrol on foot to either support the safety bus and again support individuals who might be vulnerable in the nighttime economy. Other things could be property marking sessions, where volunteers help to give advice to students on how to keep their belongings safe and secure. And then they've also helped support with major crime incidents within the area. And then in Swansea, the type of things you could be getting involved in include get involved in the Health Point, which supports vulnerable individuals, similar to the Cardiff one in the Swansea's nighttime economy. And they work alongside the emergency services, so the paramedics and the police officers. And then also they've been involved in high visibility patrols. So again, providing crime prevention advice to members of the community. The timings for this one are quite flexible, which is great. And like I said, they're open to recruitment in Cardiff and Vale, and then also Swansea, Neath and Port Talbot. And the main contact for this one is Emma Dixon. So again, her details are on the screen below if you wanted to have a look and if you wanted to contact her. And then, yeah, so the police volunteering have like a slightly different way of recruiting and vetting. So again, if you want to have a little look at this screen, again, take a screenshot if it'd be something you're interested in. And then you have to apply for an application pack and go through it that way. But again, if you have any queries, please feel free to contact Emma directly. And then the ways to get involved. So if you see the bar down the bottom, so basically that pops up at the top of our website. So if you visit the website, which is on the screen there, you click on our projects, which is that little bot there, just to see which projects we're currently recruiting for. If you want more information, again, like I said, you just contact the project coordinator directly. And then if you did want to apply to volunteer, all you have to click is the Get Involved button. It will pop down with a list that says apply to volunteer. You click on that one and then you just have to fill in the application form. And then the relevant project coordinator will get back to you with the next steps. And again, if anyone is watching this in real time or before tomorrow, then we do have a session going on tomorrow where the SVC project coordinators will be talking a bit more in detail about their projects that they're currently recruiting for. So if I haven't done any of them justice, then you'll be able to get more information on them tomorrow. And yeah, that's all from me. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Frankie. I'm sure you have done them justice, and thanks for sharing such a range of opportunities. They look really interesting, and I know just from my experience that a number of students have already been in touch, registering their interest in those. And yeah, very impressive SVC going for 50 years. So thank you.
No
yeah, and thank you again to all of you, Jason, Claire, and Frankie for presenting today. And I think unless you've got sort of anything else that you might have forgotten or something to add, then might be a good time to move on to some questions. And if so, I might ask the first question, if that's okay, just to get things started off. Yeah, I'll just ask a general one to all three of you, and either one or all of you can drop into it. But I guess, why do you work in volunteering?
I'll kick it off. So I've only recently come into my position, so I only joined into the working in the third sector in October. So before that, I did a master's in to do with the humanitarian side of things, and it's always been something that interested me. But also, ever since I've been in school, I've always been involved in volunteering. It's always been something that just feels quite selfless to me, and you do also gain a lot from it, but you feel like you're making a difference to other people. So it's always been something that I want to pursue, and I don't think that I'd ever work in another sector again. So.
Yeah, I'll jump in. I've only worked in this role, well, just for a year now, and was one of those people who I had been driving down the motorway to work, every day in a full-time position, and then back again in the evening, and suddenly realised when I was working from home that I was missing lots of things that were happening in my own community. I did get involved in volunteering at that time and did some driving. And also my dad has volunteered as a driver, taking old people. He's 82, but he takes old people to medical appointments. And for a long time, we were kind of saying, well, Dad, you've done your bit now. You've done a good stretch doing this volunteering, take some time for you. But it became apparent in lockdown when he couldn't do that, actually, what he lost. And he loves meeting people. He loves driving. He got to find out, all about people and their interesting life histories and how they connected with the area over in Bristol. And he really missed it. And we really kind of noticed a slide in his mental health and his well-being. And it was one of the first things. He couldn't wait to get jabbed and get back to it. So it's kind of made me realise that it's an important thing to have, as a constant in your life. And it's something that really does have those meaningful benefits. And like Frankie says, I can't imagine not being involved in some way now in volunteering. I've seen that firsthand.
Well, I was working for a major supermarket and I volunteered for the empty position to help organise the food redistribution, working with community groups and doing fundraising. And I found I really enjoyed it. I found it very rewarding. I was working quite often alongside the local CVS, and the project position became vacant, so I joined the organisation, and it is a rewarding place to work.
Great, thank you all for those. I feel like I might like to ask a few more questions, but actually open it up a bit more. So I'm not sure if anyone else in the audience has got questions, or perhaps if you've got questions to each other that you might like to kick off some more discussions.
I know some of our international students have had an issue with the references. They're not sure maybe who they can put down as references. Have you got any advice about, kind of who they should put forward? I think is that Frankie? I know it was kind of one of yours that was an issue, but I'm not sure whether the same applies for Claire and Jason as well.
Yeah, I was going to say we have got a list. I can probably share it with you, and then you could share it as well with students of people that you could use as references. We usually just ask for someone that you've known for over 2 years. And it usually is someone from previous employment, but I understand that some people haven't had previous employment. So there are plenty of other people. I won't list them off the top of my head because I'll definitely get them wrong. And I don't want to give false information, but I will write notes to send you over some of the people you could use as references.
That's great, thanks.
And if you don't have any references at all, you can volunteer with some kind of grassroots projects where you won't need references to volunteer, and by doing so build up references from volunteering with these projects. Some opportunities will need references and some won't, depends on the complexity.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, it's probably worth saying as well that with certainly with my role, I imagine Jason as well, that we kind of act as a conduit. So we don't set any of those processes. We advise organisations about, you might want to know this, you might want to have a DBS, depending what kind of, work it is. But each organisation will have their own kind of process about induction and references and that sort of thing. But do talk to us, as Jason says, we'll be able to do that search and say, okay, well, you can do this without, or you can do this as a short induction, and then that can take you into your next volunteering role. So don't discount it. It's worth having a conversation and digging a bit deeper to find something.
Great, thank you.
We've just got a few minutes left. I was just thinking of another question. I guess that maybe follows on for the references, or if students haven't had too much experience applying for work and opportunities before. Do you have any particular advice for students for getting in touch with you, or for sort of more formally applying for an opportunity, a way of contacting? Is it good to contact you on the phone or through email? How would you suggest that sort of students prepare their interest? Should they read up on the opportunity and the organisation a bit, or is just a general interest okay? What would you suggest?
I think we'll accept, any of those things. We just want people, even if someone says, I'm interested in volunteering, but I don't know what I bring to that, or what, we would have a conversation about, well, what interests you. You'll find if you look at the opportunities that are on Volunteering Wales, and obviously some of those we're transferring onto your Careers Connect service in a very similar format, that it does give a brief, kind of an outline of what that role will involve. And that's something that we coach our organisations in terms of, let people know what they're in for, so that they can get interested in, but also know what's expected of them. So there is quite a lot of detail. Sometimes there are things that say, we'd prefer somebody who has this kind of experience, or, you do need to have a DBS certificate because it's working with young people or vulnerable adults. But there's an awful lot of information that you can get around those roles. If you find one through an informal means, so through one of those social media kind of call outs, or just that you see, somebody's got a notice in the St David's Hospice shop, those are the kind of questions that you should be asking. And again, we can help with that. What will I be doing? What's the expectation in terms of length of time to stay with the organisation or the project? What hours do you have? What do I do if? What happens about my safety while I'm here? All of those kind of things. There's an awful lot of resources and advice pages on things like WCVA on their website, on our website as CVCs. Sometimes it's the fact that there's so much information, it's difficult to know where to go, where to find it. So we would never mind anybody just dropping a line. I'm interested in this. I'm looking for some information about this. That's exactly what we're there to do, to kind of act as that conduit and make sure everybody has the information that they need to make it a really meaningful outcome.
Yes, in my project, many of the participants have very low self-confidence, and we interview the participant ideally face-to-face prior to COVID, but with a phone more often than not now. And then we'll find out what's best for them, and make arrangements, and if necessary, meet up with them, take them along to the opportunity, and act as a conduit between themselves and the volunteer provider if they don't have the confidence to make the link up themselves. We'll guide them for every step of the process that they need help with.
Ours is quite similar as well. Like, we're always going to be on hand if anyone has any questions about it. Like I said in the presentation, it's quite easy to access the website, see all the projects on there, and then they'll each have the project coordinator's email on there. Most of the information should be on the website, but if you wanted any more information, just email the project coordinator, and we can always, similar to what Jason said, we can set up meetings digitally or hopefully in person soon, just to chat about the projects and also chat about any other opportunities. And then each of the projects have their own specific recruitment process or like vetting process. So not all of them will be the exact same. So again, if you wanted any more information on that one, just speak to the project coordinator or email the organisation group email, and then we'll just forward it on to the correct person. But again, like, we're always going to be on hand. People are very keen. All the project coordinators are very keen to get volunteers on board. So, and everyone's really friendly, so they won't turn anyone away.
That's great. Thank you. And thank you all again for all your information, advice, and sharing the opportunities. I think we're a minute to 3 o'clock now. So also thank you for timing the afternoon perfectly as well. But yeah, we very much appreciate the time and the effort that you're putting in to sharing these opportunities with our students, and hopefully you'll see lots more of them volunteering with you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.